Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, I guess I'm going to go over a little bit of how to pick what kind of device is right for you. Um, Now, there's a bunch of different styles of different mods, and I will kind of briefly go over all of them and kind of help you decide what kind of device is best for you and what it is your style of vaping is. Now, I am someone who enjoys mechanical mods. I like mechanical 2 mods and like mechanical box mods. They're really starting to become my preferred style of vaping, I guess. There's no safety feature. There's no protection or anything. It's a tube, a battery, and some coils and cotton, and that's pretty much the real basic function of a mechanical mod. Now you have your box mods here. The Voopoo Drag. I've had it for a while, and I use box mods, especially like mod with a tank. I use a lot when I'm driving. Fairly quick ramp up time. You can adjust your wattage to whatever it is you really desire, or at least what's suitable for the coil. It's nice because you have a nice juice reservoir. Your tank, you can drive around. You don't have to worry about dripping. You don't have to worry about much anything, unless your tank's running low. Then pull over somewhere, fill it up, keep going. You don't want to be driving and trying to do multiple things like dripping or anything. So that's why it's always kind of nice to have a sub tank and or like a squonker if you're going to be driving somewhere. Now, one of the big noticeable difference with like a mechanical mod with with an RDA and RTA and like a sub ohm tank is that there's a lot more vapor and you get a lot of flavor, at least depending upon some coils and some RDAs and all that kind of stuff. They don't give off the best flavor. But I discovered that most of the sub ohm tanks that I use the Voopoo U-Force 2 tank, you know, but I use the Freemax Fire Loop coils in there, and I feel like those really give off the best. No, it's the Mesh Pro, not the Fire Loop. Sorry about that. They tend to give the best flavor, especially if I'm just going somewhere to the store. I'll just pick up a tank, and that way I can get a couple hits on the drive there and on the drive back, and I don't really have to worry about anything, or going to and from work. Now, if you're someone that likes RDAs, but sometimes you don't always really want to be dripping, that's when something like Squonker comes into handy. This is the topside dual. I also have a topside single that I use pretty religiously. I really like these. There's a 10 ml bottle capacity. You can put an RDA on, and then it's pretty much, it's like having a dripper without ever really having to drip, unless of course it is you're initially setting it up. Then you do have to drip a little bit, just to get those coils saturated. But otherwise, you never really have to ever drip with a with that squonker, which I really like. I think that's probably definitely one of the nicest things about it. Yeah. Still get the same flavor that you get off of an RDA, except it's just on a mod that instead of dripping, you squonk it and it goes from the bottom up. Now, a lot of RDAs more recently are designed for squonking compared to just dripping. Granted, you can still drip, but it's a little more easier with, squonking, I feel like most days. Now, for like with a lot of, RDAs, a lot of them are dual coils. There are some single coils, but I tend to not care so much for single coils, whether it be, squonking or Whether it be like a squonker or like a dripper. Unless it's on like a regulated mod, then I'll find I'll get better flavor. But otherwise, I usually just prefer, bigger clouds, bigger airflow with dual coil. So let's say you're somebody that doesn't want to carry around a big mod, big thing of juice all the time, then pods and pod systems um, are definitely the way to go. And now there is a difference between a pod system and an all-in-one system. This is the Orion Q. I use these every day. I almost always have one on me. They're not going to produce a whole lot of vapor. They're not going to produce, big billowing clouds, and people aren't going to sit there and get all pissed off at you for blowing a cloud in their face. Even with like, this is the Grim kit. Even it's not a whole lot of vapor, but you still get really good flavor. And because of how that they're designed, you use higher nicotine in both of these. I got a 6 freebase in here, and then this is a 50 milligram, simply due to the fact that the juice that's in here only comes in 50 milligram. I normally only vape like a 25 to a 35 in Nick Salt. 50 tends to be a little too much, but I really like that juice, and it only comes in a 50. Or you can also use, even like a 3 or a 6 in another system. Like this is the Orchid. I use this system a lot. I happen to have some Nick Salt in here. It's Schizo by Clown. It's like a caramel apple. And I use that, quite often. Take it with me, throw it in my pocket, go somewhere. Now there are, and there's hundreds of different styles of pods out there. Plenty of different box mods if you want. Like this is, I don't have anything set up in this, but this is like the blade with that TFV16 on there. It's just a monster of a tank with a monster of a coil to produce just above and beyond unnecessary amounts of vapor if you truly desire. Those little single battery squonkers, like the Luna. I don't have it set up or anything. There's nothing in here, but it's just a single battery, a little squonker. It's really good for anything between like a 0.15 to a 0.2, which hard or not very easy to get out of like a single coil, but possible to do with like a dual coil, unless you have like the right coil setup. But even then, you can still get some really decent flavor. This is designed for like a single coil setup, not to produce massive clouds, but more towards flavor style of vaping. Now, one of the things that I do enjoy, depending upon what RDA is, you can get really good vapor production and flavor production. Such as like it's a little old school, but the Dead Rabbit. Got some frame stapled Claptons in here, something like that. I don't really remember. And I still get plenty of vapor production, but I get phenomenal flavor, even if I have an unregulated device at about 75, 85 watts. You don't have to push 150 watts or something to get, extreme clouds. That's just not necessary. And there's plenty of different devices you can use. This that I rock is like the Armageddon grip. It's a side fire. Actually, I think it's locked. Nope. There's no battery in it, but you take it and side fire. There's a little locking mechanism. If I really want to go a little on the upper side and kind of feel a little more, using something a little more pricey. This mod was, like 170 some bucks. This mod, which comes stacked, is like only $80. Granted, it's a great mod. There's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes you want to have something a little nicer quality, a little nicer built. That doesn't affect the flavor or anything, but it just kind of depends on what it is you really feel like rocking. I have bunch of other pod systems. You know, you have things like, you know, the Caliburn is super discreet. You're not going to get, you know, some crazy. Pretty sure it's dead. You know, not much for vapor, but it's extremely sleek. You can pop it, you know, put it right in, like, you know, like your front pocket. You know, there's all kinds of different styles of vaping. You just have to figure out which one works best for you that helps you stay off cigarettes. You know, it actually took me almost a year of vaping before I was finally able to completely quit smoking. And a lot of that kind of had to do with the stress that was kind of going on around me. But overall, you know, I eventually was able to rid myself of a lot of stress and kind of just focus on what was important. Um, and, you know, I definitely find, you know, when I'm sitting around the house, I'm not doing anything. I like just blowing clouds like it's nobody's business. But if I'm out in public, I do try to be respectful. I'll take like, you know, two little pod systems with me. That way, you know, I don't have to blow massive clouds in people's faces, and I can still get my nicotine fix. And that's, you know, that's pretty much for the most of it all I really have. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, they try to be, you know, oh, I just want to blow as big clouds as possible in front of everybody and honestly make myself look like a total idiot, which I think is not necessary. I mean, if you're with a bunch of other vapor friends, sure, go for it. I mean, it's all fun and games, right? But there's also a time where we have to learn how to be respectable to other people out in public. You know, not everyone likes having vapor blown in their face. You know, I have a coworker who's like that. She can't stand it, and as much as I think that she's just being a big old bimbo about it, there's not much I can really do. So, you know, you try and be as respectful as possible. I think that's also a factor that needs to be taken into account when it is figuring out what kind of a style of vape you want to have. So, with all that being said, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you can take something out of this video, and if you do, you know, that's awesome, you know, and that's just all keep on vaping. Peace.